This video will focus on the different plans that a school or an academic institution has in place to guide the whole school community. There are so many different types of plans that could be available. So we will focus on the main different types, and we will try to discuss the importance of each one of them. To start with, we will talk about the strategic plan. The strategic plan is a plan which identifies the strategic aims concerned both learning and infrastructure, and it is designed to inform and complement the existing practices of the institution. When we talk about strategic plans, we are talking about long-term plans which usually include a 5 years plan or a 3 years plan. This type of plan is created at the leadership level and at the board level, and it constitutes of the big goals that the school aims to achieve. Under each goal, there will be priorities and then actions associated with the priorities with success criteria and monitoring evaluation scheme. The reason why this type of plan is important, because first of all, it allows people to know the direction of the school on the long term. Additionally, because this plan will allow the leadership team of the school to identify the progress made against each goal by achieving the priority goals stated under each goal. Usually, the strategic plans are not shared with the whole school community, and they are kept at the leadership level. The strategic plan guides the leadership team to develop the school improvement plan, which usually outline the main improvement targets that the school aims to achieve in one whole year. So the school improvement plan is the main guide that is referred to by all the school community in order to design all the plans internally to run the school, to improve the practices, and to definitely achieve the guiding statements and definitions of the school. So the school improvement plan, known as the SIP, identifies the academic and priority goals along with strategies for the school. It is a central document used by the whole school community to map out the strategic plans for the development of the school. It is based on 3 important things. Number 1, on the established values of the school. It's very important for every leader to start with the guiding statements and guiding definitions of the school, because those are the ethos that the whole school community should be working to achieve. The big question is, are we achieving the school vision? So the school improvement plan should be established based on the values of the school, the mission, vision, core values, definition of learning, definition of leadership for learning, definition of globalization, definition of wellness, definition of inclusive education. So each leader will be connecting and hooking this SIP to the values relevant to the work and the job that he is entitled to perform. The second one, it has to be based on evidence of where the school is currently at. So when the school community start planning for the school improvement plan, the first step should be looking at where the school is currently at. The building blocks of the school improvement plan has to be realistic, has to take into account where the school is currently at, and then to design further improvement plans. Let's take a specific example. Today, if we are trying to initiate a new strategy to improve critical thinking in the school, we have to ask ourselves, where are we in developing the critical thinking skills? At what level? Do we have the plan and we're struggling with the implementation? Do we have the plan and we're implementing, but we are not seeing an impact? So the first step is to evaluate the current position and then to start putting some specific actions that will allow us to improve what we have right now and to take it to the next step. The third one, which is connecting the SIP to how does it best support students. We have to keep in mind, learning should be at the heart of the SIP. So it has to be based on how to best support the students. How can we allow them to develop at all levels, academically, personally, socially, and definitely to maintain their well-being. The diagram here, which is the cycle for the plan, explains the things that we have to follow or the process that should be followed in order to ensure that the school improvement plan is a living document that is continuously updated throughout the year and is an ongoing live document. So every target outlined in the school improvement plan is constructed based on the current situation, based on the analysis of the values of the guiding statements of the school. It aims to improve students' outcome. So once I take all of those into consideration, I come up with my actions. So I have the actions, I will act upon that, I will start doing, then I need to evaluate, and then I have to go again in the same cyclic manner. Three things related to the school improvement plan which should be well explained when we talk about our strategy. Number one, The significance. What is the significance of the SIP? The SIP aims to establish a unified vision for a school, assess its needs, and then outline a program to resolve all the issues uncovered. School leadership team uses these plans to close the achievement gap, to address low performance, and to create equity in classrooms. Let's ask ourselves the question about the structure of the SIP, which is the second point. How should it look like? What are the non-negotiables that has to be there when we are constructing an efficient, effective SIP? So an effective SIP include key steps and methods of implementation. Number one, as we mentioned before, we have to diagnose the problem. So we have to conduct a needs-based assessment to identify gaps and problems in the system. Or we might have an external body who visited the school and gave recommendations for further improvement. Or it could be based on a specific identified loophole in the procedures and practices. So for example, if we have students struggling with low reading scores, what are the contributing factors? So this is the way we should diagnose the problem. The second point, which is develop a vision. We need to identify ways to address gaps and problems that are practical, applicable in the context of the school, within our reach, based on our human resources and physical resources. So for example, if we want to resolve this low reading scores issue, we might think about an after-school program to support the ESL learners and give more personalized instruction, which might improve the scores. The third point, we have to create a step-by-step implementation plan where we list the steps to achieve this vision, including the budget for the staff and technology, the checkpoints to measure the impact, the procedures to be put in place to guide all the different stakeholders, and the involved personnel in each step. The fourth point, which is the implementation of the plan. How will the plan be communicated with the different stakeholders? Starting with teachers, going to the parents, administration, everyone should be on the same page. The fifth one, which is reviewing the outcomes. How will we measure the impact? We have to find ways to measure the success of the SIP and adjust it as needed. Going back to the ESL low reading performance, we have to ask ourselves the question, have the reading scores of ESL students taking part in the after-school program improved? How can the school motivate those students who didn't join and they are struggling? Do we have any quantitative or qualitative data that we can present to the school community to show that improvement? The third point, which is the importance. Why is the SIP important? Schools have so many different battles to fight with so many difficulties related to the stakeholders. For a school to be able to keep a balance between the day-to-day operations and the strategic targets set in the strategic plan, the SIP is the most important piece of information that guides everybody and brings back the whole school community to the right track despite the challenges arising from the day-to-day operations. We all know that today's schools struggle to address academic achievement, especially with the COVID-19 disruption and many other changes that keeps occurring in this world. So having a SIP in place, which is reviewed and visited continuously, will allow people to stay connected with the strategic long-term targets and to be focused on minimizing the gaps arising from the data collected on ground. What are the things to be considered when we are looking into the school improvement plan? Number one, identify stakeholders. Who is involved in the SIP, in that specific target? For example, if we are looking at attainment and progress of students, who will be involved in achieving that target? Assessment coordinator, heads of departments, coordinators, teachers. It's not only the people who will be responsible to implement that action or be accountable for achieving that action. It also includes the stakeholders who should be aware of the actions to know what to expect when we are trying to implement that. So if we want to make weekly assessments to track the progress, then parents should be informed and they should be on board to know that their kids will have those checkpoints every week. Second point, define roles of stakeholders and others involved. Am I only going to implement, or I will be also responsible for the results? I will be held accountable for it. What is my level of involvement? So it's not only to define the human power involved in that, but also to define the responsibilities. So by then, we have a clear accountability channel and reporting lines related to every action. Third one, collect qualitative and quantitative data. We have to get the impact based on tangible evidence. Data could be obtained from minutes of meetings, brainstorming sessions, lesson observation, rubrics. It could be surveys. It could be feedback forms. It could be students' outcomes. It could be the portfolio of students or teachers. So many different tools could provide me with reliable data, but the question should remain, what is the most suitable piece of information that will support that specific action? The fourth one, which is set SMART goals. We will talk about SMART goals in the coming slides, because whenever we look at a goal, we have to identify whether this goal fulfills those 5 criteria or not. The fifth one, prioritize the tasks. Yes, we might be very ambitious in where we want our schools to be, but we can only do one thing at a time. Setting realistic goals will boost the morale of the whole school community. Let's ask ourselves the question, if now we will look at the school improvement plan, can we identify the main targets that we have contributed to achieving them? Right there, you will feel how proud you are as a member in contributing to the success of your institution and in making that vision achievable. So I want to do 3 different improvements. I have 3 different projects that I want to initiate, but one of them is a quick fix. So I would prioritize that and start with it. Once I feel, oh, I achieved, my whole school community have started to change, to do a progress, I can see a difference, consistency, then I will go to the second project and the third project. Try to divide your actions into small specific chunks to be able to celebrate success, boost the morale of your team, and then you can aim for the higher goal and achieve it. Create a schedule. So many people get lost in the middle of the academic year. We start off the academic year, we have the school improvement plan, we have discussed the targets, actions are there, but after 2-3 months, this will not be a living document anymore. It will be left on the side due to so many issues that happen and the challenges of the day-to-day operation of the school. This is the main obstacle that hinders schools from achieving all the targets set in their SIP. Bring that document again and try to mark on your annual calendar specific checkpoints where you will tell yourself, first Monday of the month, I'm going to visit it. And I will read it again to see how much in line I am with the set targets and actions, and to reevaluate and reassess the progress that I have done. Putting checkpoints, monitoring the SIP is the key for the good implementation and the successful achievement of what is stated in it. Assess risks. As we all know, the school community constitutes of so many stakeholders. I have students, parents, admin, teachers, support staff, I have vendors, I have suppliers. So many people are involved. And if I have one weak body, this will have a negative impact on the whole school performance. So I have to assess the risk because it is not dependent on one person only or on one sector or on one division. You have to be mindful how the work of others is going to affect your work. And that's why talking about teamwork and talking about collaboration and communication is important. Try to identify what risk can affect the achievement of your actions and be ready with plan B and plan C, or coach and mentor the other sector in order to make sure that they're going to help you achieve and succeed. Communicate the plan and the monitoring process. Everyone who's involved in achieving the SIP should read the plan, should know the targets, the priorities, the mechanism of implementation, and definitely the monitoring process. After what time we will ask ourselves the question, did we achieve it? Can we see the impact? Is it consistent across the whole school, or we have to do something different? So communicating the plan, whether in written through emails, letters, circulars on the platforms, or verbally in brainstorming sessions, meetings, is very important, and it's a key. Reassess the plan at specific milestones to collect the data. Looking at the checkpoints that are specifically stated and the tools that we will use to get and to collect the data will help us to identify the contributions of different stakeholders and the efficiency and effectiveness of what we have put together. Last but not least, conduct final evaluation. Usually, this happens at the end of the academic year in order for us to say, this is where we are right now. This is how far we could take the school community. Now let's sit and come up with the school improvement plan for the coming academic year. The big question before we move to the third type of school plans is about the evidence. Let's assume someone is coming to ask you about the school improvement plan as a leader. What are the artifacts that you have currently now which will show the person looking at your work that you have taken all those 10 points into consideration? Do I have the evidence of how I identified the stakeholders, how I defined the roles, the data that I collected, criteria of setting my goals, how I prioritized the tasks? Do I have the schedule that I've put in place in order to track my SIP targets? Have I assessed the risk? Did I communicate the plan? When did I reassess the plan? And do I have all the needed information that will guide the leadership team at the end of the year to conduct the final evaluation and to come up with the coming school improvement plan? All those 10 points should be answered with artifacts. Let's move now to the third type, which is the school action plan. An action plan is a definitive checklist of actions to achieve a specific goal. From its name, action. I have an issue, I need to take action. I have something that was identified as a gap, and I have to rectify it. 5 steps to be considered when we are constructing an action plan or we are evaluating the action plan. Number one, the SMART goals. Number two, the list of actions. Number three, the specific timeline. Number four, the designated resources, whether be it human or physical. And the most important is monitoring the progress. When I look at the action plan, I do not see that much of a difference than the improvement plan. Action plan, it's specific. It is constructed based on a recommendation from an agency or a gap or identified need, and it has to be immediate done action to work it out and to rectify it. Since we have spoken about SMART goals twice so far between the improvement plan and the action